I welcome Karan and V sir for this podcast. This is a kind of a podcast where, it's not about tech. Forget the fact that you are an engineer, you're supposed to be this tomorrow, that tomorrow. Leave that. Just imagine that you are still a baby and you are yet to explore a lot. And no brackets of this ECEIS because I did it for a very long time and I'm facing the heat of it now. So no brackets of this engineer, that engineer, just be a good engineer. That's what I always felt like when I see people like him. And most of the time when we learn something, we have to explore something and basically we forget exploring ourselves. So let's not do that mistake. Let's just listen to this podcast. Let's just learn how he explored himself as what he is today and also make sure that we don't make that idiotic decision of not choosing what we really want to do. And I'm very glad that Karan MD sir is here. And I felt as soon as we hear him giving us some sort of a KT section in AZ Dev, I felt like he's like the Roger Penrose of the motivation. Like to me, I just felt it like that. So yeah, I'm here with Karan sir and just teaching myself how to explore, be a good engineer. And thank you so much, Karan sir, for giving this podcast. Means a lot.
Hi, Vishwas. First of all, thanks for having me over here. And, I'd love to always share, something that I came across, something that I learned initially and things like that. So happy to do that over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you this one question. Like, being a good leader is always fine, but always staying motivated is never a complete forte of any person. Because there are some times when even greatest leaders have told, like, this is not coming to my hand, I'm just going to leave this. Right now, I'm just going to leave it. Like, how to stay motivated today? Because it's like somebody is just there to pull you down, and somebody is just going to say, hey, you're not fit enough. Just go. It's not about that as well. So, I wanted to understand like how to stay motivated today.
Rather than for me, in fact, one of the really big what do you say revelations has been very early on, and this is actually, if you're seeing, then you would know that I'm a really big fan of Dr. Kalam. And I want to actually recollect one of the incidents that he had mentioned very widely when he came across something like this. So he was always very interested in being a part of the Air Force. He wanted to be a pilot actually, and he gave and went, I think, to Dehradun, if I remember correctly, for the interview and everything else. So this is actually an incident that has been very much motivating for me, and for me as well, because if you're seeing me, you would realize that I'm a big fan of Dr. Kalam. So many a times, whenever I get some of these kind of questions, I go try to see if it's something that probably he also might have faced sometime in his journey. And the question that you asked is something that something that he had also faced at one time. And so he always wanted to be a pilot, during his initial days of finishing his engineering and graduation, etc. And
Yeah.
there was a post for an opening in Indian Air Force, and that's where he went and gave an interview in Dehradun. So I don't remember the exact number, but he missed being selected just by one spot, by one position. I believe if it was like 7 or 8 people they were looking for, he ended up like ninth or so, just by one spot. So he went back very dejected. And on the way he went to one of the ashram where there was a saint.
Yeah.
And he mentions that incident very clearly, wherein he asks that, saying that even before he asked what happened. And the saint tells him that you know sometimes whatever happens happens because there is something more bigger destined for you. And there was one thing that he learned very much clearly that day, and which also told him that is that you just have to think about, or you just have to really immerse yourself in what it is that you really want while you're going to sleep at like the end of the night. and the whole universe is going to conspire to you, and it is just that cosmic energy that's going to help you get those things done. So all of
Yeah.
those things are there most of the times when there is always the ups and downs. You feel motivated to do something, something is really good. Some of the other days you feel really low, but you just have to kind of remember why you're doing it and where you're headed, and just that all of these things are just a part of the journey, those ups and downs and everything else that you come across.
Yeah, that's true, because I have always been a biggest fan of being motivated. Like, it's not about like if you just go and hear this person, I'll feel so motivated. There are some people who say that if I listen to this music, I stay motivated. It's not about that. See the world around you. It's so nice that somebody is having some or the other complaint. Like, that's what it is all about. So do not complain about you don't have this, you don't have that. Like, somehow you set up a cosmic energy, right? Somehow that will come to you, and it will of course favor your base. So I wanted to know, what's the missing puzzle in educating professional today? Because being motivated is on the one side, it's like you have a great leader, like according to me, one of the okayest programmer in the world, that he says, Scott Hanselman, he himself says that there is a lot of sabotage that I face even when I am talking that lively with a lot of people. I can't think about that people itself. So there are a lot of ways in which your professional life can be molded. So I just wanted to understand, like, how to educate a professional, because communities are helping out today, because big firms, that's what they always think about. If we educate a professional, of course there is going to be a lot of things, but there's a missing puzzle that I always feel that it's impossible without everybody coming without a unique purpose in them, because it's all about celebrating the greatness in everybody. So I wanted to understand, like, how to educate the professionals today, and what's the missing puzzle that we are yet to solve in order to educate a humongous number of developers.
Trust me, if this missing puzzle was known, everyone would be behind it. But in my opinion, it's largely about um connecting the dots, being able to absorb and being able to know how something that you're learning can actually make a difference sometime down the line. So right now what's happening is that everyone is looking at right now, tomorrow, this week, etc., and that's it, right? No one is thinking a lot about, when it comes to especially learning, as to how something that I'm doing today or learning today can actually affect me this year or over the next few years, etc. Everyone is looking at, okay, I need to solve a problem right now, so I'm learning something, right? And which is good. I'm not saying that that's not something that you're not supposed to do, because those questions and answering those questions is where learning happens. But there needs to be some amount that you need to do for the future as well, because otherwise what's going to happen is that you get very short-sighted in being like right now, and just what it is right now. And who's going to suffer ultimately is the people 5 years or 10 years down the line, people who are probably still in school right now, and then are just going to study 5 years, 10 years down the line. They are the ones who will actually get affected, because people are not really creating and learning and doing a whole lot more before. And it's something that, if you look at it, that's how society functions as well. Right now, a lot of the things that we are actually facing is something that is a effect of something that happens 5 or 10 years ago, right? And it's the same case for learning. So the puzzle is actually for all of us to kind of take a step back, and then actually introspect why we are doing this, and also how it's going to really help. I feel always that we are an increasingly interconnected community these days, across various different channels, platforms, and a whole lot of things that's happening, either for solving certain things or just for kind of connecting with each other. But one thing that we really need to do is we need to kind of start realizing how is this going to help people? How is this going to help overall, the society, or how is it going to help the quality of life? I think once we start looking at this big picture, take a step back and then see, um, it just increases the uh, absorption potential of all of us for various different things. It increases the absorption potential for learning and knowledge. It increases the potential for empathy. It increases the potential for openness. It increases the potential for a whole lot of things that we never even knew could happen. So we need to start being more absorbent, and start becoming um, more of like a sponge that you absorb and you give back whenever necessary.
Yeah, that's true because not just you. In one of your, I think, Digital Oceans community talk itself, you had mentioned about Simon Sinek, the why, what, and what's the purpose of doing this, and how do we do it, and things like that. So Simon Sinek's example is still given in a lot of DevOps talks, like uh, Gene Kim gives it. Uh, like Gene Kim gives it, there is an amazing scientist called as John Willis, who's considered as one of the biggest students on DevOps culture, and also many other DevOps guys gives him. So I don't know what's the influence of Simon Sinek to any person, but I just feel like he creates a purpose of why. So I just wanted to know, like, are there any reasons that you always told yourself, I need to find that why? And if I feel like giving it up, what was your situation during that point of time, and how did you overcome that situation? Because a lot of times, even when you want to do something like greatest, like I wanted to go for my research, and there is a lot of other things which are factor coming up, like somebody saying me, hey, you go for a job, you learn good. I'm like, no, I want to go for a research, and a lot of things. So how did you overcome all those things? Because I wanted to learn, how did you face that situation, and how did you learn from it?
Now, for me, it's always been around a whole lot of things. I faced a whole lot of questions while I was trying to really think as to, okay, what am I supposed to do and pursue? I know what my passions were, what I really like doing, what I did not like doing, etc. But I never really kind of knew what is it that I need to be doing that can create an impact, and also, just help me with my day-to-day life and living, etc. There are a whole lot of things. I've been always interested in the arts and theater. I used to act in teleserials, feature films, etc. I was interested in that. I was interested in a lot of the anchoring and things, everything. I was interested in, at one point of time, research, because that's something which I was very, very curious about and helped fulfill my curiosity. And I was interested with computers and a whole lot of stuff. So I was always confused initially as to what am I supposed to do, what am I supposed to kind of pursue. And the way that I decided to be where I am right now was to break up each part of it and try to tackle why or why not, right? So one of the things that I had it very clear, which I think is very necessary, is to know what you really like doing and what you don't. If that is the first step that you already have, then all you have to decide is, from what you like, how do you choose what can be a career for you, what can be a profession for you, what can be a hobby for you, and what is it that's something you can give back to others. So I started picking up every aspect of what I really like doing, and started taking in more, and talking to more people. For example, if I I was always been very, very passionate about computers. So I got my first computer when I was just a kid. And I used to tear apart. I still remember removing all the 108 keys of the keyboard and putting it all back, and things like that. So I was that's something I knew I always liked. And I knew there was something, while talking to people, that there is quite a future in it. But I was not really sure, because I started hearing a whole lot of things that, oh, you're gonna be well off if you're a software engineer, you're gonna be well off if you are something else, etc. And I used to talk to people, understand, okay, so what does a software engineer exactly do, and or if they said that, hey, you need to be in IT, like what does an IT person exactly do? And similarly, when I was thinking about like, okay, probably should I go full time into acting, like I used to go talk to all of my other seniors as well, and then ask them, many of the directors and famous actors, and it's like, what do you think? And just talking to all of these people started giving me a whole lot of worldview that I was not aware of, because I always used to think that, okay, this is what it is, or this is what it is. But talking to many of these people started giving me ground realities of how things work, and that helped me make much more clear of what I need to be doing, and that kind of helped made me, come to one conclusion that, okay, a lot of the thing that I want to do will revolve around computers itself, because that's something that I really really like. And then, I was looking at, of course, okay, now are there ways I can actually bring in some of my other hobbies and likes into this itself? And that is where a whole lot of things started propping up. Like many years ago, like 10 years ago, say something like DevRel or community management, etc., was not really, something that was well known or big in the tech space. It was, of course, there in the various other domains, but not much in the tech space. But thankfully, it started kind of like picking up, and something that I felt really very very close to, because it involved a whole lot of other things that I like to do as well with computers. And that's where I actually, while just exploring, found my why, because I felt this is very unique space where I can bring in my tech skills, where I can bring in my a whole lot of artistic skills. I can bring in various different things together in one place to actually help others, which is what was my why. It's tangible for me, and that's something that just clicked.
Yeah, that's true, because it's just like celebrate your greatness by celebrating your learning. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Do not overcomplicate things, because it gets complicated over a course of time. So, you three, like you, Vivek sir, Arvind sir, and like there are amazing people, like community space. Community space, I think probably you three are rocking in there. Like you three are the rock stars. Like whenever I saw most of your talks and the speeches that was available through online. Like, yeah, like I felt like you always celebrate that learning that you always get. You don't have the regret of, okay, I'm learning this, I'm doing this or doing that. Like when you give examples also. So I always wanted to ask the greatest learner. Like I forgot to ask this in Vivek sir's podcast, and even in Arvind sir's podcast, I forgot to ask them. Like I wanted to know, like, are we leveraging the tech that we are building in order to educate ourselves, in order to build ourselves as a new professional, and also in building a new culture in the work domain? Because sometimes I feel like, I've spoken to a DevOps guy from amazing companies. They have different stories. Just for the CI/CD of a Kubernetes, we had to talk and meet for 2 months, and I'm like, you have tech, why don't you leverage that? Like, I just wanted to understand, like, are we really leveraging the tech that we are building in order to build a sustainable culture? Because I feel like somewhere, because of the too much of tech that we have right now, I think we are lacking with how to leveraging it. Like, we don't know how to leverage the tech that we have today. So I wanted to understand from your point of view, like, are we really leveraging it completely?
It's I wouldn't call it as a challenge with tech. I call it as a challenge with knowledge management of all of us humans as collectively, together. That is the challenge. The challenge is that each person, across each segment of being, be it tech or be it society, etc., has something unique that they know. So how can they kind of make that more, how can they share more of that learnings with others, right? That's something that needs to happen more, and it's not really specific to technology, right? So I'll give you an example to illustrate this. Is um, if you look at what's happening like currently with the pandemic, with COVID and all of that across the world, right? Every world leader is actually coming together, talking to each other, trying to figure out that, okay, how do we solve this? How do we solve this for people? How do we solve this for our nations? How do we solve this for a world? Where do we collaborate and do everything, etc., right? Now, now this is of course not the first pandemic that the world has seen. Hundreds of years ago there have been other pandemics, and there have been other things that's happening, etc., right? So why is everyone really scrambling around and just not taking up, a page from the book from the past to really see, okay, how did they solve that back then? And, how are we going to do it right now? Or why is it that, many of those hundreds of years ago, someone didn't leave behind saying that, okay, this is how you can do, or this is how we did, and it's going to help, right? That is the challenge, that for us, all of us collectively, you take even the smallest group, okay, say any person who is, say, a skilled technician, etc., right? A lot of the work that he does is not because he read it from some book, but it just flowed through, through word of mouth or through practice, etc., right? And most often that's where it kind of almost ends as well, until and unless it doesn't pass on, right? So that is the fundamental challenge on kind of leveraging each other's knowledge and experiences to improve whatever we are doing. And we are on the path to it. It is just that it needs to be more structured and more kind of more accessible to a lot more people. So the reason why things like Wikipedia, or even, for example, say things like GitHub and everything else has been really so famous, is because it embodies that very similar philosophy that let's start sharing all of these things, not just facts but also experiences, a work product and result, etc., because that's going to help the larger group of whatever people, be it all of us in technology, or be it people in medicine, etc., kind of learn from each other's experiences, because we are just being redundant in a whole lot of things that we can actually avoid. So it's not just about technology is not yet there, but this is a fundamental challenge that we are almost, I think, still trying to solve using technology through various ways, and trying to figure out how exactly can this really help us solve some of these fundamental challenges. That's my opinion, in terms of where we need to kind of apply more of technology to actually. So there is if since you mentioned you probably do some of the research papers, etc., you can find a lot of papers on something called as tacit knowledge, which is something that but how do you externalize it, right? So there's quite a lot of research happening on that, on how to externalize this tacit knowledge, and that's where we need to bring in more of the technology to shape this in a form that is available to all of us, and also to the common man per se.
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of times, it's not about research papers also. Even the scientists who write research papers, they are against the culture that, every researcher has to pay something for an publication to be published there. Like somehow open source their publication, like something like NIPS don't have that barrier. There is ICLR, which has no barrier of that. Like institutions have no barrier for that. But sometimes I feel like, it's not about validating something because of money. It's also about like, sharing that huge and humongous chunk of knowledge that you actually discovered over a course of time. So I wanted to ask you this question, because how to be a rock star on the stage like you three, because you really changed Vivek sir's, the way he was uh, preparing the slides and the way the slides were being structured. And one day you sat with them and talked with them, and that's what he did with me. And many people today are calling me like, why are you not doing slides? Because I have my graphic tablet, why should I do slides? Because many people started asking me slides, I'm like, no, they're getting lazy and things like that. So I just wanted to understand, like, what's the sense of purpose according to you? What's the meaning of life? And also, what is it all about when you're being a true educator? Because that commitment, I think probably not everybody gets it. Like how to learn that. So I just wanted to learn from you three. So I
Uh,
forgot asking those two people like how to beat this, but like I just want to ask you this one question.
how to learn what? Sorry.
How to learn to be a good teacher? That's what my question is all about. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and also it's all
So
about the sense of purpose and also the meaning of life. So that's what it is.
see, I'll tell you, it's the way that I look at it is that there are think of it as, like, say I'm not speaking anything right now. I'm not showing you anything right now. All of my senses are, closed. Okay. And all of your senses are closed. Now I need to transfer something from my head into your head, right? How would I do that? We don't have any wireless technology for this yet, wherein I can do a send. So if we start thinking about it, let's start opening one of our senses. Let's just say that we don't talk anything, but we just open our eyes, and you also just open your eyes. Okay. And when we do that, I have the opportunity to actually start showing you some visuals and then making you understand something, right? So that's something that you might start understanding. So the very first thing is you need to concentrate on what are the visuals, okay? Because for us, fundamentally, we start learning things through visuals. We see someone, and even as like small kids, we see what people are doing, and then we learn, right? So similarly, visuals are very powerful in terms of if it's shown rightly. So then let's add one more layer. Let's open up our mouth, okay, and then start speaking of what's happening, okay. But again, here is a catch. This often is a, it's a one-way road, okay, because if you open your mouth and I open my mouth and both of us are talking and our ears are closed, it doesn't help with anything, right? So it has to alternate. So that's where, we need to figure out that how to get what I'm saying into you, not just in the ears, but also make you understand. And this is the fundamental aspect of attention. How do you get people to give your attention? Because if I'm talking and your ears are closed, it means I don't have your attention. Or even if it means your ears are open, but the wireless transfer is not happening through what I'm saying, it means I've lost your attention, right? So to kind of take into aspect these fundamental things of how you convey information and how you communicate information is the really really fundamental aspect of teaching someone, keeping that in mind. Because what I see is many people are kind of teaching and doing a whole lot of different things, be it code or be it anything else, etc. But they forget this fundamental aspect that the reason and the outcome is not that you have said it and you have done it, but the outcome is always, has the other person understood what you're trying to do, okay. That is the most important part. So you need to focus a little bit on this fundamentals and this basics to really be able to effectively teach and communicate someone, and for them to grasp and understand what you are trying to do. So going back to these basics, I've seen has always been helpful for me for anything that could be as complicated as whatever it is, and understanding yourself and trying to do that. I want to give you an incident, which actually happened with me. It was the day before when I met Dr. Kalam, was when one of the persons came to me and he saw what I'd done. And so basically what I'd done was I'd built a very very small and a working model of what you call as a LVDT, which is a linear variable differential transformer, okay. And the purpose of that say exhibit and a model was to teach the impact that a something as simple as LVDT can do. So he came to me and then he asked me that, okay, what is this? Just tell me what this is. And since he was over there and he seemed to know what it was, I explained him what it is. But he said, all right, now just imagine I'm a 5-year-old kid. How do you explain this to me? And this was challenging at first, okay? Because how do you explain what is an LVDT to a 5-year-old kid, right? And you can see a lot of these kind of videos these days. I'm talking of like something like this which happened like 10 years ago or so, and asking, like, how do you explain this to a kid? And I went back to the basic principles of, okay, what does this do? And applied it in a very very simple concept and told him. And it was very interesting, because then what he did was he just pulled out his card, and then he gave it to me, and he said that, by the way, I run a kids museum for science, so and I want you to come and give a talk on these complex concepts and make them very very simple for students to understand. And I've done this multiple times for various different schools and everyone else, etc., of distilling some of these complex concepts into basics of what they actually do and are. And that those fundamentals of seeing and hearing and speaking, and actually sometimes even touch and feel, is what will really help you communicate things. And to your second question on purpose, right? That's Have you frozen? I think so.
No.
Okay.
I'm just here with you, just listening to what you are saying, because
Yeah.
I still remember that IEEE thing that you even told me when we were in the slides. That session where we had some how to present it, how to do the slides and things like that.
Right.
That's what I was always. I was thinking of, like, oh my god, yeah, that's a very impactful thing. It might be very small to hear to some guy, like if the guy who has invented LVDT comes and says to me, like, okay, this is what LVDT is, probably he might also appreciate you. That's what I was feeling. That's it. Continue.
Yeah. And see, for me, one of the things is that um a lot of the things, early on, what I used to think that, like, okay, let's do this, let's do something big, let's do something that accomplishes this or accomplishes that, etc. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, it's a lot more about how do you just help each other, and how do you get to do something that can help more and more people, right? And that's, for me, that's the fundamental purpose of a lot of the things that I do. Is there, whatever I'm doing, can it help more and more people, and make their lives easier for whatever it is, right? And this people component is actually what is what that has been an inspiration for me, that I got from Dr. Kalam as well, because he's someone who was able to see beyond technology, beyond a whole lot of things, and look at actually the people behind things. He was able to see the people and the work and their lives behind technology, which often, these days many people don't. So right now, if I were to bring up like 10 different softwares or projects or frameworks or whatever you want to call it as, people rarely know the people behind all of those things. I don't mean to say everyone. I mean to say at least the people who make those things possible, or say the leaders who make those things possible. So we need to focus, I feel, more on the people who are doing these things, and kind of celebrate them and recognize them equally as much as we do the work that they do as well. And that's one of the key things that I do at my work as well, is to celebrate a lot of these people who are doing really really outsized impact through their work, and who often don't who are often not as celebrated as all of the entertainers that we see these days, right? And for many of us, it becomes very very fundamental that we make all of these people appealing as much as entertainers to the general public. Because the reason, if you think about it, why all of us are really appealed to entertainers, is because they evoke an emotion in us. They kind of make us feel good, or they make us feel excited through a lot of their work, be it movie, dance, whatever it is, etc. Right. So for us, a lot of the work sometimes fundamentally involves on how do you make the work that all of these people are doing in such an outsized impact more appealing and more emotionally evoking to various other folks, so that their work and the people behind the work also get recognized.
Got it. Yeah, I think you covered it all, because it's not the sense of life that you have. It's, you will obviously live and you will obviously die one day, and you will always have a purpose to do, because there is money which is required to make you live and whatnot. I think you pretty much summed up everything. I think this is the second most motivational podcast that I did. One is with wakes up, because to me, I don't know anything like career development and things like that. So that's why I had open sourced all the questions. So I'd asked most of them, like from AZ Dev India, and also I'd asked some of my friends to give me some questions. I think this is one I did on my own. I think probably questions are good. Yeah, I think questions are good, and yeah, you have answered amazing insights for it. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. For me, one of the things is that a lot of the things that I talk about sometimes can be big picture, because often, and the reason why I do that is often we tend to get lost in the details, and forget that we need to start looking at the big picture sometimes as well. Because it's easy to get lost in the details with a whole lot of details that are coming up these days. So it's almost like if I were to speak in technology terms, an application, if it's generating tons and tons of logs, it's easy to get lost in the logs, seeing what's happening and forgetting the big picture as to what is this actually impacting and help creating an impact for our end users and customers, right? And we need to balance, always looking at that big picture of what things are happening, and at the same time balance with the details as well, to ensure that we are able to relate one with the other to kind of keep moving forward. And like how I always say, again, Dr. Kalam is someone who does that amazingly well. He knows the details to things. He knows, if you ask him about something, he knows what it is. And at the same time, he's able to look at the really big picture of okay, what is this actually leading to, or what is this actually helping with, etc. So one last thing that I really want to leave folks with is that for me, he's always been an inspiration with the work he's done and everything else. So I would strongly suggest for you all to read more about him and his work, because he's someone who has or had like really rare personality traits of being a technologist, of being a visionary, of being a scientist, being someone who's very humble, coming from really humble backgrounds, etc. Something that you can very, very rarely find across various different domains, and someone who can and has created so much of an impact. So please do read more about him, because learnings that one can get from him are a lot more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, he's a great influence. He's a very great influence. I think thanks for mentioning him on my podcast, because this is the first time that somebody has mentioned him on my podcast, and for a motivation. And there are other scientists on Rocket and who have come and talked about him. Yeah, I think thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for great insights, and thank you for giving me this podcast.
Thanks, Vishwas, again for having me over here, and for all the listeners. I hope some of the insights have been helpful to kind of just introspect a bit more, and then think about the reason behind a whole lot of things, and the impact that all of you actually can create by by doing a lot more of what you really love. Because somewhere in there, all of us have that DNA and program to do the best work of our life, and I just want to leave off with a quote from Dr. Kalam's book Wings of Fire, wherein he says that don't worry and fret faint-hearted, for the best jobs haven't begun and the best work hasn't been done. So to always kind of keep thinking about what we are doing, because the best job probably hasn't begun yet and the best work hasn't been done yet. So don't worry and fret faint-hearted, but just keep going on and doing more of what you love. Thanks,
Thank you.
Vishwas, once again.
Thank you, sir.